Yeah.
Hello, everyone. As Mr. Scamper said, welcome into Fantasy Football Office Hours brought to you by Front Yard Fantasy. I'm your host, Simon, joined, as always, by the esteemed professor, John Luke Garofalo, tenured, so he can't even get fired.
Nope, I'm locked in.
You
Can't
got
fire
that,
me, baby.
you got that tenure, baby. For those of you who have never joined us here before, this is Office Hours, where all we're doing is answering your questions. So if you've got fantasy football questions heading into Week 14 or other questions, maybe about Jail's teeth brushing habits or my underpants brand preferences, feel free to throw those in the chat as well. Let's jump right in here. Grimfin had a question for us to start off. Michael Pittman or Chris Olave in full PPR? Jail, which way are you leaning on this one?
All right, Pittman has got Cincinnati this week. Olave is going up against Carolina. Secondary hasn't been too bad. Vegas is not expecting the Carolina-New Orleans game to be very high scoring.
Like 37.5, I think, last time I checked.
Something real pathetic. I think I'd go Pittman here.
I'm with you, Jail.
Yeah, that sounds like a more explosive play.
Especially with the performance we saw from, I know this is on the other team, Jake Browning. Last week, I now have a little bit more faith that this Cincinnati offense can score.
Yeah, they weren't bad.
They weren't bad, right? So maybe this Jake Browning-led offense against a mid-Colts defense can get it done, and so the Colts have to keep throwing the ball.
Shouldn't his name be Josh Bangling?
I think so.
They should change that.
Yeah. And in other news, the new starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns is Joe Ravening.
Ravening.
But really it is. It's Joe Flacco. His last name might as well be Raven.
That's true. Flock.
Flacco's starting for the Browns. What world do we live in? Grim wants to know George Kittle or Jake Ferguson in full PPR. God, why are tight end questions always the grossest? Because they'll be like, what about this guy that you can start every single week or a rookie?
And you actually, the answer is not clear most of the time, which is the annoying part about tight end. I'm still going to go Kittle here. I think it is close between these two guys. Vegas is expecting both of these games to be high scoring. San Francisco going against Seattle, Dallas going against Philadelphia. But I would lean Kittle.
Man, this is super close. I think I'll lean Kittle as well here. I wish the game script maybe gave a little bit more of a lean one way or the other. I'm really just rolling with the MVP leading quarterback and one of his favorite weapons, George Kittle. Brock Purdy's been playing lights out over the second half of the season. I have a hard. That being said, so is Dak Prescott, right?
Ferguson is so good though,
and Prescott's like the second leading MVP candidate. Like it's Brock Purdy, then Dak. This is a win-win.
Let's dig into this a little bit here. Like over the last 6 weeks, Ferguson has been a tight end within the tight end 10 4 times out of 6 times. The other 2 times he was a tight end, like back end tight end too. Kittle. Let's pull Kittle up. Kittle has been fantastic the last 6 weeks. Holy shit. He's had one bad week against Seattle in week 12. But last week
is against Seattle again.
Yeah, and this is against Seattle. So that does add some trickiness to it. But last week, Philadelphia, tight end 9.
And
week
Jake
11,
Ferguson plays Philadelphia.
I know. And that Philadelphia's not that good against tight end. This is a complex question. I'm still going to lean Kittle here, but I don't think you can go wrong either way.
I'm leaning Kittle. Digging through those game logs, Jail, identifying the one bad game. Brock Purdy's hot. This team is trending upwards. George Kittle's trending hot right now. I just got a little bit more trust in that offense. And I know these are both potentially weird games, but I feel like the Cowboys-Eagles games, the weird factor is 10x what the weird factor can be for a 49ers-Seahawks game. Like those games anything can happen in a Cowboys-Eagles game.
NFC East is just like
it doesn't matter.
Just anything could happen.
Scampers wants to know, am I really benching Dallas versus Philly for Jacksonville at the Fighting Flaccos? Jacksonville versus the Browns. And for some more insight, there's expected to be gusts of up to 17 miles per hour, if I remember correctly, in Cleveland this weekend. Anything that high is pretty bad for throwing a football. But Dallas has had some like weak winning defensive performances, but also they've put up negative points depending on your scoring system in some of the recent weeks. John Luke, what are you doing here?
I think I would lean Jacksonville.
I'm with you.
I think I would lean Jacksonville. Dallas is definitely the better defense, but I think the matchup's really important here, and I don't think Dallas is good enough to shut down Philadelphia.
I don't think this is getting too cute. Know what I mean? Sometimes with defense, you worry that you get too cute with the matchups. That Philadelphia offense is one of the best in the league. There's bad weather. There's a backup quarterback. Potentially the top wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns is out as well, right? Amari Cooper still going through concussion protocol. Like, yeah, it's got to be Jacksonville for me. High upside, low risk wants to know which one sits in a standard league. So no PPR. Bijan Robinson, David Montgomery, Josh Jacobs, or Devon Achane. Much appreciated, fellas. This is a tough one.
My goodness.
You know what it is? Non-PPR, this hurts. It's going to be Devon Achane for me. He's the guy that's already splitting work with Raheem Mostert. He's the one who gets most of his value. I say that Bijan has been getting a lot of his value through the passing game as well. It's going to be between those two guys, but I think Achane's the one that's going to get the sit for me.
Yeah, you can't bench Montgomery in standard. You just can't. Maybe you can. I don't know. It feels like Montgomery has been getting a decent amount of that goal line work. I think I'd bench Achane. That sucks. I don't want to bench Achane. I really do not want to bench him this week.
He could score 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. All right.
Man, is there any temptation to bench Bijan Robinson because of the amount he's gotten through the air? He's going up against a Buccaneers defense that has been really, really good against running backs and poor against wide receivers. I'm switching my answer. It's Bijan Robinson that hits the bench for me out of these three. I know he's been killer the past couple of weeks, but this defensive matchup is a bad one for him. I'll plug Achane. I just can't miss out on the upside of an Achane in what's supposed to be a high scoring game there.
Yeah, that's fair.
Close though. High upside, low risk. That's a tough question. Dane wants to know Jaden Reed at the New York Giants or Lockett at San Francisco in Scott Fish Bowl.
Lockett.
You're going Lockett?
I'm going
Lockett. Because you hate me?
Reed Reed has been good at times, but we haven't seen consistently great. And New York Giants defense has shown flashes of a great secondary here. So yeah, I would go Lockett.
I'll take Jaden Reed, and it's an upside play for me, especially in something like Scott Fish Bowl tournament style. I think Jaden Reed's got a little bit more upside in this game.
And that 15-mile-an-hour wind. 15 mile an hour.
That's right at the threshold, Jail. They say that line is at 15 miles per hour, where it really affects quarterbacks. Maybe it'll drop. Maybe it'll drop 1 mile per hour. Maybe. And the San Francisco defense is almost like 15 mile per hour winds.
That is true. They're pretty good.
Scampers wants us to rank our top 2 pretty please with Sugar on top. Gus Edwards versus the Rams, AJ Dillon or Romeo Doubs at the Giants, or Gabe Davis at Kansas City.
All right, pull some of these matchups here.
I think AJ Dillon is a gross start this week that you plugged in there. You just mentioned the wins expected in that game, right, JL? Dillon has quietly put together some pretty decent performances over the past couple of weeks after being dropped by the majority of owners at the beginning of the season. So I think Dillon's in there for me.
That game script might go his way. Like we were just talking about that game, 15-mile-an-hour winds. That means they could end up having to rely on the run game and AJ Dillon. So I like that. I like that pick. I'm with you there.
And then it's going to be between Gabe and Gus. I think I roll Gabe at Kansas City. Just give me pieces in that game. I want the pieces, and Gabe can get it done.
I'll go Gus. I'll go Gus here.
I think part of the reason I went Gabe was because the other play was Dillon. And that play just feels so unsexy that Gus feels like another unsexy relatively.
You can't stack unsexies.
I can't stack unsexies. You got to have some balance on that.
You can't stack unsexies.
Krim said, didn't Dallas give up a lot on defense last week? They did. They've had some abysmal performances recently. They've put up negative fantasy points. Apart. That being said, they're also the defense that's probably most likely in the league to get a pick 6 out of any team on any given week, which is gold. Yeah,
they're not they're not bulletproof. Like they still have weaknesses. They still fall apart at times, but I'd say they're one of the top defenses for sure, just talent-wise.
Victor has 2 questions for us. Zay Flowers, Brandon Cooks, and Rashee Rice. Pick 2 to start this week.
Ooh,
You benching your boy Zay in a bad weather, bad game script game.
who is Kansas City playing again?
Kansas City plays the Bills. The
The
game
Bills.
2.0.
Oh yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, I think you got to bench because the other game is Dallas and Philly, which we just talked about being weird. But Brandon Cooks has been a major part of that offense, and we say weird, not that there won't be points scored or fantasy value, just weird and unpredictable. So I think it's going to be Brandon Cooks and Rashee Rice. I'll start, and I'd sit Zay Flowers as well.
I thought we weren't going to agree on this one, JL, because that doesn't feel right, but I think it is right this week. I think Zay Flowers sits the bench out of these three. Also, Scampers was adding another defense in there. So the options earlier were Dallas versus Philly, Jacksonville at the Browns, or the Lions at Chicago. Chicago seems to be figuring it out a little bit over the past couple of weeks. And the last time they played the Lions a couple of weeks ago, they actually put up decent points. I'll still take Philly or Jacksonville versus the Falcons, but Lions are a fine start.
Yeah, I'd start Lions over the other option you had that wasn't the Jacksonville. Dallas, I think.
Dallas at the Eagles, yeah.
And the other question Victor had he said, what kind of pizza tonight? Italian beef pizza. What the hell is Italian beef pizza? Shrimp pizza, meat lovers pizza, which seems very similar to Italian beef pizza, and then veggies pizza.
Italian beef.
It's Italian beef pizza.
It's not a French beef pizza.
This cow's from Italy.
French accent, but saying he's from Italy. I'm going veggies pizza.
Yeah, you didn't include cheese as an option. If cheese is an option, Victor, go cheese. But otherwise, give me veggies pizza. I also like saying plural, veggies pizza. I'm just going to say that exclusively from now on.
I'm with you. My go-to pizza is jalapeno and pineapple, though. The sweet and spicy with a little bit of salt on top. Joey wants to know, what tickles more, Simon's mustache or JL's stubble?
Oh, I don't know that mine tickles so much as scratches the hell out of at this point, at this stage in its growth.
Yeah, mine's probably more tickly right now, and JL's is probably more scratchy, but we can alternate.
Yeah. This is like 3 days out of not shaving, so it's at like sing.
Grim wants to know, if Christian Watson sits out, who is worth more of a start on TV, on Wicks or Malik Heath? I'm going to go with Wicks. He's been getting some targets over the past couple of weeks, even without injury. Maybe they rely on him a little bit more with Christian Watson now. What about you, JL?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Though I'm not hyped to start necessarily either of them this week. It's a desperation start.
Yeah, the Giants, we just talked about their secondary being sometimes good, but I think generally they're giving up some points.
Eddie H wants to know, he's got another Baltimore Raven running back in here, but it's not the Gus Bus. Keaton Mitchell, Breece Hall, or Jake Ferguson. I'm leaning Keaton, actually. I do think this is a weird week for Breece Hall. He hasn't looked good recently. This Texans team, though, isn't great against running backs, but we're expecting them to be able to potentially score. John Luke, where are you leaning here?
I'm leaning. We're just starting one.
Just one.
Oh man, I thought it was starting two. Made it easier. I'm not leaning Keaton. Keaton's the one I would sit. He just hasn't had the opportunity. Like, he's done a lot. He's had these like big explosive plays, but if you look at the last 4 weeks, which is where he's really been involved in the game plan, he's gotten 9 carries, 8 carries, 3 carries, 9 carries, which is not fantastic. And he's not getting much in the passing game. So Keaton, I see, as more like an upside play. I'd go Breece Hall or Jake Ferguson. I'd probably go Breece Hall.
Man, I know with Breece Hall, the concern is his injury, right? He didn't practice on Wednesday. I believe it's an ankle injury, if I'm remembering properly. I have not heard if he practiced today or not. So monitor that. If Breece Hall plays, if he practices Friday in full, I'm probably starting Breece Hall. Otherwise, I don't mind your Keaton Mitchell start. I think they're going to be running the ball quite a bit there in Baltimore this weekend.
You watch your mouth.
Eddie H wants to know, Higgins, London, or Ridley. It's an easy London for me out of this bunch, which most weeks it would not be. But I don't necessarily trust T. Higgins with Jake Browning, even though that offense looked pretty good. And I definitely don't want CJ Beathard throwing the ball in 17-mile-per-hour winds on the road in Cleveland with Denzel Ward back to Calvin Ridley.
So you're going to take the coward's way out and get London, who's playing in a dome.
Exactly. I'm taking the wimp's way out. Give me Drake London.
I'm with you, Simon. I'll be a wimp right there with you. It's week what, 14?
Yeah.
No, it's time for wimps. This is where wimps shine.
Wimps, shrimps, pasta. I saw, Jill, if you ever go on there's a subreddit, Tattoo Advice, where people post it, and I sorted by best all time one time, and someone just posted their tattoo, and it's like, help me cover this, I hate it. And it was just right above their knee. It said, shrimps is bugs. And the best part was no one gave helpful advice in the comments because everyone just complimented how great of a tattoo it was. Everyone just said, no, you can't cover that. That's the best tattoo ever.
It's like, dang it, this happens everywhere I go.
Shrimps is bugs. Also, Victor, let me know what you think of the jalapeno and pineapple. It is my number one favorite. Scampers in here saying, thanks for the help, guys. Feel better, Joey. And Grim fan letting Eddie know that he thinks he should play Fergie. I assume that's unrelated to his question about Jake Ferguson and just what he thinks he should play out loud on his speakers right now.
Play some Fergie.
Man, I was listening to some old school Black Eyed Peas this week. Their first album.
That was one of my first CDs ever.
They went downhill. The Black Eyed Peas did. It got a lot more radio after their first album. But that first album is it's phenomenal. Applebee app.
I don't know. What is their first album? I don't even know if the one I had was their first album. I just know it was my first CD.
I forget the name of it.
I had the one where it was Let's Get It Started, but they released the CD and it was not those words.
Yeah, Black Eyed Peas. Yeah, I remember that one. They're not allowed to say that anymore.
Yeah.
No one should say that anymore. It was Behind the Front was their first studio album.
Nice.
Behind the Front. All right. Do we have any more questions in here? Craig had an IDP question for us. So Christian Wilkins or Quinnen Williams?
The answer is always Christian Wilkins.
I'm with you. He's got the power of Power Rangers on his side. Also, and Dame wants to know the best hummus flavor.
Ooh.
There is a balsamic caramelized onion flavor that HEB does that has like a reservoir of balsamic vinegar and caramelized onions in the center of it. And it's like pee your pants good.
That's pretty good hummus.
Pretty good hummus.
I don't know that I have like an OP. This is my best hummus.
Sometimes I go on hummus kicks where like all I want is hummus. Like I'm eating gallons of hummus a week.
I eat a ton of hummus. Yeah, for sure. I just don't like go to the store. I'm like, I'm going to get this flavor. I just play it by ear.
Eddie said roasted red pepper hummus, a classic.
I feel like that's my go-to. Like if I'm going to pick one, I'm not feeling the regular. I'll be like, a little red pepper.
And Craig said, as soon as I sent that, I knew you'd take him because Clemson. Well, and if you've seen any video clips of Christian Wilkins, then you love that man as well. It's not just Clemson fans that love him. It's everyone except for Ohio State fans that loves Christian Wilkins.
Which tells you a lot about them.
Scamper says shrimps is bugs.
Shrimps is bugs.
Craig had one more question for us. Non-IDP, Flacco / DTR, depending on who gets to start, or Desmond Ridder. I think it's safe to assume Flacco gets the start based on what we're hearing. He was still practicing with the ones, even though DTR is showing up back at practice. I'll go Ridder here. They're not going to be able to run the ball very well against this tough Tampa Bay defense. They're going to have to throw it.
It's not going to be raining or windy.
It's not going to
always a plus.
Well, it could be, just not inside.
Not in the dome, yeah.
So I'm setting my bonuses. Other wide receivers are CD, Josh Downs, Nico, Zay Jones, and Chris Godwin. So I guess this depends how many you can start. Let's assume starting 3. CD, Josh Downs, Nico, Zay Jones, and Chris Godwin.
Zay Jones or Zay Flowers?
This is Zay Jones.
Oh, Zay Jones. It has the name on there. If I just read.
We
could take Zay Jones out of there, right?
Yeah, with CJ Beathard throwing the ball in a bad weather game.
Yeah. Let's remove him. And then it becomes you're starting CD.
I have a hard time starting. Chris Godwin has not been good for fantasy. And they're going against a team I don't know if the teams generally run the ball against the Texans, and they run the ball pretty well against the Texans. I think you do start Deontay Johnson, Swamp. I think he's in your starting lineup with Mr. Trubisky chucking the ball.
Would you start Deontay Johnson over Downs?
That's the one where like this is assuming starting three. I think my starting three are CD, Josh Downs, and Deontay Johnson, with Nico, Zay, and Chris Godwin hitting the bench.
Nico's just that you don't like the flavor.
I don't like the matchup.
I think I'm going CD Downs and no. I think I'm going CD Nico and no, I'm going CD Downs and Deontay Johnson. That's what I'm doing. Lock
Double Deontay. Get him in there. Swamp. I know it's a disgusting game, low upside, but I do like Deontay Johnson all right tonight.
Nico Collins is either going to ball the F out this weekend or he's not going to do anything. And it's so hard to tell which one it's going to be.
It's just such a gross matchup against the Jets.
The total on this game, 33.5. That might be the lowest total I've seen. No, I'm sorry. The New England-Pittsburgh one is 30.
I was going to say that would be the lowest total most weeks, but unfortunately, tonight's game is disgusting.
I might hammer the over. I might do that right after this. 30? You kidding me?
Eddie in here wants to know, Russ or Minshew this week have Kyler on a bye. Where would you be going, JL?
I'd be going Russ. And pull up Minshew's matchup.
He's going against Cincinnati, which it's an all right matchup. We've seen teams score against them.
Russ has picked it up lately. I think I'd go Russ. Chargers matchup.
He's got more than an okay matchup going up against the Chargers. I'm going to go Russell Wilson as well with you, John Luke. Also, Grimfan wanted to know McManus, Aubrey, Carlson, or Sanders. Pick one kicker. John Luke, which of these kickers would you be plugging in?
All right, let me look up their matchups here. Who are the names?
McManus.
Okay.
Brandon Aubrey. So Brandon Aubrey, the Dallas Kickers, playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. McManus, Jacksonville's
rule McManus out. That's an outdoor windy guy. You don't want that. You don't want a kicker in a windy, rainy game.
And then we've got Carlson. Carlson's playing against the New York Giants. Another bad weather outside game, right?
Yep.
In New York. And then we've got Sanders going up against Tennessee. So it's between Sanders and Aubrey for me. Take your pick. I'll go Aubrey just because I'm expecting a lot of points in that game.
Yeah, I think I'd go Aubrey too.
We got Aubrey there for you. Also, Swamp said Game Awards is tonight anyway, so not going to be watching that football. Well, enjoy that, Swamp. Unless there's any more questions, I think that's going to be it. JL, did you have any fantasy questions you wanted to ask?
Yes. What is Nico Collins going to do this weekend? I need to know. There you have it.
We got one more from Dame. Dame said Addison or Pickens?
Ooh. Addison.
Yeah, Addison. If we're picking a non-primary target in one of these two games, I'll take the Vikings game over the Steelers game tonight.
30, Dame. 30 was the over-under on that game.
Disgusting. Craig said outdoor windy guy is what they call me after too much beer on a hot summer day.
I can see that.
Just outdoor windy guy. JL, if you were hypothetically deciding between Austin Eckler and Justin Jefferson for your last flex spot in a guillotine league, who would you be plugging in?
Go Jeff.
First week back with Joshua Dobbs, you're starting Justin Jefferson?
Yes.
If Austin Eckler fears, right?
Just like absolutely forgetting how to play football, or just like, I don't even think it's that. I think Austin Eckler is that he's just losing the edge that he has. Like it's easier to solve for Austin Eckler now.
Or he's injured.
Or he's
a little injured. Or both.
Or Staley's scared.
Or Staley's threatening him.
Or this is the year of El Nino and things are getting wacky.
Or this is actually the quarter qual and they never told us. And the secret is Austin Eckler only has to play at half speed.
Full circle.
Guys, that's going to be it for Office Hours today. We'll be back next week. Same time, same place, Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time for some more fantasy football game show fun and then office hours afterwards. Join our Discord if you want to hang out, ask any other questions, and make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube at Front Yard Fantasy. It's the easiest way not to miss anything we are putting out. All right. Any final words, Professor John Luke?
It's a Mario in Paris.
Oh, Italian beef for pizza.
Oh, Italian beef for pizza.